then Devin's going to step us through the questions that, as part of the strategy, the strategic considerations. He's also going to review some market research where he's at, and then I definitely want to confirm any action items before we sign off for today. So having said that, Devin, Tom, I will turn it over to you.
Okay. So Tom, do you want to explain? Let me share my screen here.
And Devin, I'm not hearing you very well. I don't know whether anybody else is having issues, but
No, you sound like you're really far away. You got the wrong mic still on.
Where's the?
It just sounds a little muffled, I think.
yeah. Sounds like he's in a tunnel.
Yeah.
Trying to find out the. Okay, hold on.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Much.
For some reason it keeps switching my mics on me.
Okay.
So
This is a good
okay,
one. Stick with this.
I'll stick with that one. Okay,
Okay.
excellent. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, I'm going to share my screen real quick. So what we did was we're doing the network design in two phases. Okay. The first phase is the kind of the shorter version, and then this will be followed by a longer version. But what you're seeing here is obviously on my screen, you can see the outline clearly of your town, right? And then what Biarri has done is they've gone in and they have created that, we'll call it connecting the public and low-income housing units, okay? And the backbone associated with that. So this is obviously the information we need to apply for one of those MBI grants that we want to take advantage of, right? And the larger kind of town-wide network will come off. You integrate this as well as have these same elements for every address in the township or in the town. Okay. So this will give you an idea. So you can see here, if I zoom in, okay, I can identify the green blocks right here. Those are what we call aggregation huts. Okay, so a lot of fiber are coming into those, and you'll have switching equipment that then switches the traffic throughout the network back to the central office. Okay, from the nodes. There's a lot of detail in here. So when I click on here, not only does it tell me, this tells me all of the fiber counts that are being terminated in that hut. Whoops, excuse me, didn't mean to do that. If I click on this, the green, that'll tell me that that's a 44 count fiber cable. Okay. And so each of these are coming off of, most of them are 144 and 288, I believe. That's a, I don't know what that is. What is the blue one, Thomas? It's a T3 cable.
That should be a 288.
Okay, 288 count. Okay.
Or actually, it depends. I mean, it can be whatever size you wanted. Those are just connecting the huts, but I believe they're 288.
Okay, excellent. So, well, I don't know why I keep on clicking on that. Okay. So you can kind of see how we are kind of laying out the path to get to those facilities that you sent me the address list of, right? So I just provided the addresses to Biarri folks, and then they programmed them into the system, and the system automatically kind of lays out the network path. Okay. Now this is, just so you know, don't get hung up if this is going through an area where you're like, okay, that'll never work because of this factor and that factor. That's not what this is for. This is for high level design and feasibility cost analysis. Okay. So we can take this information here and I can output. Hopefully, if it's working right, right there, I can output a spreadsheet. Come on. There we go. That basically creates me a bill of material for everything in that design. So all the huts, all the handholds, all the interconnects, all the fiber counts, all the conduit counts, everything. Okay. And then we're able to take this information. Okay. So you can kind of see, you know, each of them, what their network element ID is. And we can go through here, and this means a whole lot to people that actually design these things and build these things. Doesn't mean that much to me, but you can kind of see how we're like different conduit sizes and the associated number of feet that is in that design. Okay. So this then helps us, we're able to then feed this information into our cost analysis systems that we've set up and start building pro forma financials to build out this part of the segment of the network. Okay. So this is, again, specifically focused on a kind of a mini network, if you will. Let me go back to that. Where'd it go? Okay. A mini network that's specifically designed to go to those low income and public housing units. Okay. Any questions on this so far? We will give you once the full town is designed out, we will give you, probably Keith, and if others want it, give you access to this program, and you can go in there and you can, you know, check it out and analyze it and do anything you want with it.
So, Devin, I do have a question. I think I heard you say, I mean, this is just based on the low-income housing, public housing. So this doesn't take into effect any of the fiber that we're currently running between all the town buildings, all of those fiber counts, all of that, right?
Correct.
All right. So
It does not.
the next, so you talked about a second phase. So in the second phase, will it take into account those things?
Yes, and that's a great segue into our next conversation. That is, we need to get that information from you, Keith, or from Comtrax or whoever we can get it from. So we need to understand where your fiber paths are today. Also, love to get GIS shape files on parcels, on any, you know, if whatever GIS files you have that you track. Either yourself or the county is going to have parcel data, address data. Thomas, give me some other highlights of the most popular ones you like to see.
Yeah, I would say you got it right on the nose with parcel and address data. The next, I think, most important would be any city-owned property, or like fire stations, parks, anything like that, where we could potentially place those aggregate huts that Devin was talking about earlier. So any locations where there's a little bit of land open that we could, you know, build a structure on, small structure. Other than that, I think those are kind of the big three. If you have an official town boundary, that's always helpful, just to make sure we don't, you know, get a couple of addresses outside of the city that were included in whatever we found. But if you can't find that, we're usually pretty good at sourcing that information.
And then on top of that, Keith, obviously, what does your current network look like today? What of those city properties are connected or will be connected as part of this phase you're currently doing? And they'll overlay all of that information into the town-wide design.
Absolutely. If you have any existing conduit structures, subsurface structures, and fiber that you want to incorporate into the design, we would absolutely need that as a GIS shapefile. And I apologize, my camera's off. I've been ill all week and I'm looking a bit haggard. So excuse me.
Okay.
Can I
I'm
just
a little-
add
Go ahead, David.
that uh, Keith, also, we've also been given grants to fund the first 2 loops up out the north end of town. And Keith has that information. I think those need to be built into this too.
Right.
That's my,
Yeah, the overall plan shows where we would like to run all of the, we have a plan that shows where all the town buildings, all the public safety towers, where all that fiber is run. And we also have a proposed plan of all the fiber loops. It's like 7 fiber loops. And as David just mentioned, we got funding for 2 of those 7. So
That's exactly what we want. We want that plan.
So just to clarify, this is not the current fiber build that Westport is doing. This is phase 2, or is it not?
This is a phase X. We're not sure where it's going to fit into it, but what you
Okay.
see here is the fiber designed specifically for the low income and public housing units.
Gotcha.
That will be kind of that'll be kind of a grant unto itself, a grant application unto itself. Okay. So this layer ultimately will be included in the overall design, but we wanted to pull it out too, so we can specifically specify it as part of the grant application.
So,
Okay.
so Devin, just so I'm clear. So what happens? I mean, I don't know if this route overlaps the current fiber that we're doing. So what happens if this, doesn't quite line up with the fiber plans that we have in place now?
We'll get it to line up,
We'll get it. Okay.
and then we'll analyze what are those counts in the planned plan, and if we need to bump those up, then we'll specify that as well.
Okay.
Okay, excellent. So that is Biari. So the takeaway is Keith's going to help us get some GIS shape files so that we can continue on and continue with the overall build. Okay. All right, let me stop sharing real quick. Next topic was, what was it, Julie? Was it the survey data or the market research? Survey. Okay.
Survey.
So over the last few weeks, Jeff has been walking everybody through a series of strategic, concepts, right? Or considerations. What kind of media, is this a utility? Is it not considered that level, right? Is it, all those good things, right?
right.
So now we're at the point where we want to get your feedback from those conversations. So what we've done is we've created, let me share again. We've created a very simple survey. Okay, I want to kind of go through it with you. So the first series of questions are, what level of planning horizon do we want? And I think, Julie, you included the link to this, right?
Yes, I sent it out as a separate email. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you guys have this link. We would love you to individually go in. I think it'll take you 3 minutes at the most, and answer these questions because we'd like to get your feedback on these concepts. But I'll go through them really quickly. So from a planning horizon perspective, okay, what we mean by this is as you put in a strategic plan, how far in the future do you want that plan to represent? Do you want solutions for the next 10 years, or do you want a solution for the next 50 plus years or 20 years? Or, what is that horizon you want to plan towards? Okay. Not how long do you want to take to implement this plan? We don't want that. Okay. Second, given this timeline or this horizon, what is the best media for you guys to accomplish that horizon, right? And And we've given you a lot of detail about this, but I think you guys will understand where we're going there. Then we talk about policy, right? And this is where we're talking about, do you believe that digital infrastructure, so connectivity, has reached the level of essential nature as other electric, sewer, water, road systems are in our worlds today? Okay. And then we start asking a series of questions about the use of taxpayer dollars. Okay. How should the town spend public money? Should it build infrastructure or should it not build infrastructure? Should the town take an active role in making access affordable? Is this even in the domain of town governance, right? Yes or no there. Should the town take an active role in making access available? Okay. Should the town take an active role in making access reliable? Then we start shifting a little bit and talk about service provider strategy. Okay, so how important is competition and choice in internet services in your town? And you can kind of rank them. What is the level of concern you have over kind of your world becoming this single ISP monopoly? Is that of concern to you or not? Under business model strategy, if the town deploys new infrastructure, which type of infrastructure would you support? And this goes to basically the closed access versus open access conversation that we've been having. Okay. As far as network adaptability, meaning how functional or how adaptable is the network, rate the importance of bandwidth can be increased at the individual level as different customers need more bandwidth or less bandwidth. How important is that? How important is the upper limit of the speed not being constrained by capacity? So it can be unlimited if that's what the consumer wants or the homeowner or business want. Okay, rate the importance of the network, what it can do other than just deliver internet. Is that important to you, or is the internet pretty much all we got to worry about? Okay, and rate the importance of network software defined rather than hardware defined. So this is where we were talking about, we kind of showed the slide that talked about how we've gone from mainframes to mobile to immersive, and how we've gone from, again, big hardware platforms to social file sharing to social networks and media to what they call this immersive meta world, right? Kind of thing. And the world of connectivity. And then we talk about affordability strategies. So of the list below, what do you think are some of the strategies that the town should employ or utilize to drive down cost and make things more affordable for the residents and businesses in Westport? So you can talk about organize it as a utility model, unbundle the infrastructure, network operations, and the network services so that they could each be kind of optimized from a cost savings perspective. Allow subscribers to pay off infrastructure. This kind of goes back to the first option, right? Because that's one of the natures of a utility. You pay for your water connection, but once that infrastructure is paid off, that goes away. You still pay for water that you use, but you're not paying for that connection in perpetuity in most municipalities throughout the country. Okay. Enable competition among service providers, apply for state and federal grants, and enroll eligible participants in federal subsidies. We have yet to have anybody, there's been not a single person that's not clicked the last two buttons at least, right? Those are kind of obvious. Okay, as far as reliability strategy, rate the importance of having a dedicated network connection for subscribers. So this is that shared network, sharing with 32 or 64 of your neighbors, or not sharing and not having your experience influenced by what they're doing on the network. How important is that? How important is having symmetrical connections? So upload speeds are the same as download speeds. How important is that? Okay. Raise the importance of giving individual customer network speed options that could be customized for their needs. So lots of choice. How important is that? And then last, rounding everything up here, if the town moves forward with deploying a municipal-owned fiber network, which maintenance and operations model do you prefer? Do you prefer an in-source or do you prefer to outsource? I think we've already kind of answered this one as a group, but I'll leave it up to you individually. And our recommendation certainly would be where I think most of you would go, and that would be the outsource model. Okay, and then finally, from a general strategy perspective, which of the following would you recommend as the right strategy for your town? Work with the incumbent operators to solve affordability and accessibility problem, or pursue a new infrastructure owned by the town, or public-private partnership of some sort. Okay, that's it. Real simple. If you wouldn't mind going and taking that, that would be helpful. We can review the results of your views next week.
So Devin, is it us that you want to fill this out, or is there a bigger audience?
Well, for sure, the core group of the broadband team in Westport. I wouldn't go much past that though, because nobody else has had the benefit of going through those 3 weeks of kind of slides and education on these topics, right? So yeah, this is not a general public kind of thing at all. This is this core group. Because then out of this, we'll decide, okay, everybody's unanimous on this, everybody's unanimous on that. Is that something we want to then formulate into a recommendation to the town select board, right? Or is that something we just want to present them with options and let them decide what is the best way?
I see David has his hand raised.
Yeah, let me just say, some of the financing questions may be a little difficult, and I wanted to report that I had discussions with your colleague, David Robertson, and we talked about trying to find ways where we would place heavy emphasis on trying to go after grant funding and federal funding, and try to find ways to avoid any additions to current town budgets. This sort of leads to you set up a municipal light company, and it would raise the money to do this, so that the whole thing would be debt financing and grant financing and keeping it off of the town budget as the kind of directions that we talked about for financing. So I'd just say, as you answer this questionnaire, which I did half an hour or an hour ago, I keep in mind that when it talks about should the town take responsibility for this, it doesn't mean that it doesn't necessarily mean that it would fall on the town budget, that there are ways of doing it without it adding to the current town budget, which has got its very serious difficulties and can't get anything added to it at this time. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that clarification, because that's very, very important. Yes, we're going to recommend that for sure. This is kind of separated from the general budgets of the town, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Julie had her.
I love that button. So Devin, I just wanted to clarify that you're asking each one of them to complete it individually. And then we have on the timeline, our next meeting is June 30th. So we're every 2 weeks.
Right.
That during that meeting, hopefully as a group, we can define what those recommendations are. Because according to Jeff's timeline, really hope to get the preliminary draft report done by mid-July.
Yep. That's great.
Thank you.
Good. Next topic. let's move on to market research. So the way that we conduct market research is that we open up a Google map and we go to the town of Westport, and I zoom in to a north quadrant of the town, south quadrant, east, west, and central, and I select randomly an address, a residential home. Okay. And then I go to the website, in this case, Comcast, or excuse me, Spectrum, not Comcast, Charter Spectrum, and then also Verizon. And I search on their website what is available to that homeowner. Okay. And I see what their results come back to us. Now, you'll notice a couple of things. Cable companies, no matter what market I research, if they offer a plan in the town, they will return all of the plans available for the entire town, whether or not they're actually available at that address and on that street or not. They'll return all the plans. That's why, and they may offer them all to that neighborhood, but it's not guaranteed. They have lots of small text disclaiming that not all plans are available in all areas. So you need to contact them and call them, and they'll kind of look up and be more specific. So we don't take that last effort of contacting them, but we do see what their website returns. And this is what it returned in the town of Westport. So there are residential service from Spectrum. There are 3 basic plans that they offer. There's a 200 megabit by 10. There's a 400 megabyte by roughly 40. And then there's a what they call their 1 gig package, which is 940 by 50. Okay.
Devin,
A lot of
I'm
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Can you make your screen just a lot bigger?
a little. Okay. Let me see here. Is that helpful?
That's helpful. Thank you.
I can go a little bit further too. Let me go. Okay. So those are the plans that we're looking at. Okay. It's very common for the cable operators, especially, to have promotional promotional discounted rates for these plans. So the promotional rate for 12 months is $50 for the 200 meg plan, $70 for the 40 meg plan, or 400 meg plan, and $90 for the 940 plan. Okay. If you want their modem, they'll charge you $5 to lease that. They do have a $20 install fee. And the standard rate for these is $75, $95, and $115. So what they're hoping you do is they're hoping to get you excited about 50, 70, and 90. And then 12 months from then, you'll just automatically be up billed to the 75, 95, and 115. And they're, and the vast majority of people stay on those plans multiple years. And so they end up, benefiting the first year, but then paying the regular standard rates the years that follow. Okay. The good thing about Spectrum is at the present time, they do not have data caps. That's because they're prohibited from having data caps. When they merged the FCC, that was one of the stipulations. And we don't know if those are going to come off anytime soon. We know that they have petitioned to get them lifted, but right now you guys benefit from no data caps, which is really nice. Okay. David had a comment. What did you say, David?
I can say it. I said, would it be helpful to have each member of the committee send you a copy of our current internet bill?
It would, as well as many others that we can get in the town.
Well,
Yep.
let's settle, as you said, let's do the questionnaire with us, and
Yep.
let's ask the members of this committee to send. How do we send them to you? I guess we can scan them and then send it to you on an internet.
Exactly. You can just email them to us. You can put them in a shared drive, So out on the shared drive.
Oh, no,
Um,
no. I'm just gonna send you
Okay, you just email them to us.
yes, as a scanned attachment.
Yep. But here's the
Alright.
key. Make sure you scan all the pages for me, not just the
Okay.
coupon page,
Okay. All right.
because it's the detail that I need in order to unbundle all those
All right.
services.
Anyway, this
Okay.
would give you at least 7 or 8 of them.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
So then you'll see for the north, south, east, and west is very, very consistent. The same packages. Whether those are actually offered in those quadrants or not, we don't know. But those are the plans that you're looking for, and that's the pricing that is being advertised. The good thing about getting copies of your bills is then we can verify what's actually being billed against what's being advertised. Okay. Spectrum Business, same concept, except for they do tell you if there is an area that something is not offered in, they will share that information with you. So again, in the north quadrant, they've got 3 packages: Internet, Ultra, and Gig. Starts at 200, goes to 600, goes to 940. A little bit more expensive. So the promotional rate on these on the business plans is $65, $115, and $165 for what they call the Gig equivalent. And then the standard rates are not disclosed. Okay, we can speculate that usually the promotional price is somewhere between $20 and $30, usually less than the standard, but we'd have no way of confirming that because they don't disclose that on their website. Okay. Any questions about the business? So it looks like in the north, you've got good business coverage. In the east and west, you've got good business coverage. Central south, not good coverage. Okay. At least that's what their website's telling us. Let's talk about Verizon. Now, Verizon, bless their hearts, they're struggling, with their old DSL infrastructure. So I did the same searching. In the north quadrant, on that address I searched, there's no services available. On the south quadrant, no services. On the east quadrant, no services. On the west, I did find 2 services. One is a 4G LTE home Wi-Fi kind of thing, or home hotspot, I guess is a better way to put it, through Verizon Wireless. And then there is a DSL option on the west side of town that you can get up to between 1 and 3 megabits per second download speed. Okay. The cost of the 4G LTE home hotspot is $60. And that will get you up to about 25 megs download, which is a far cry from 1 to 3. Their DSL platform is actually regulated, so the prices are set at $40. The interesting thing about the DSL and why I'm assuming you don't have a whole lot of takers in town is the internet will cost you $40, but you are required to also take a phone line service at $35. So if you don't have any use for the phone line because you have a cell phone, you'll end up essentially paying $75 for a 1 to 3 meg connection, which is very challenging and very expensive, obviously. And then down in the central part of town, I did also find the same DSL offering for $75 essentially, once you add the phone line expense that's required. Okay. Any questions about any of those? David's got to leave. Thanks, David. Good luck with your wife. Okay. So the only other thing I wanted to show you. So what this tells us, along with what I'm going to show you now, kind of says a lot. So we ran a speed test data. So MLabs, it captures every speed test that's done in the entire country. So if you go to one of the traditional speed tests and run a speed test on your connection, it'll be captured by MLabs. Actually captured by Google, but MLabs, it's their database. Google just administers it for them. And we are able to query that database. So I did a query on the MLabs database for your town between January 1st of 2021 to December 31st. So the entire year of 2021. And during that time, there was 48,700. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. 48,728 download speed tests, and they're just a little bit less, 45,000 upload speed tests that were conducted. Okay. This tells us the average of all those speed tests combined, that's good information, but so the average is about 40 megabits by about 7 megabits download. But where it gets really good, the data is very, very meaningful to us, is when we start comparing Charter to MCI, which is Verizon, basically, Verizon DSL. Okay. Under this scenario, what we see is this. We see that Spectrum is sitting at 47.58 as an average and 6.97 upload as an average for the entire year. And Verizon Business, which is the DSL plant, is 3.18 by 7 or 0.73. So what this tells us and what the pricing tells us is two things. Number one, these companies, other than Verizon, Spectrum is producing a service that is substantially less than they are actually advertising.
Hey, baby.
They're advertising 100, 200, 300, 400 megabits, and they're delivering on average 47. Okay. Now, they disclaim the 200 and say these are not guarantees, so they're not outside their contract. But from a perception perspective, that'll give you an idea. Verizon actually advertises less than this, so they are, kudos, a gold star for them on the forehead for not misrepresenting what their DSL plant can do and will deliver. But this also tells us something very interesting, and that is that for the most part, where both our options are available, I guarantee you Comcast has that business, or excuse me, Spectrum has that business. Okay? Because there's so much difference in throughput. So you essentially have basically a cable monopoly in the town right now. So, and I don't think I'm saying anything that's surprising to anybody, right? So, but that's what the data shows us so far. Any questions about this? Okay. That is all I had from a market research perspective. So I'll turn it back to you, Julie.
Okay, well, that was what we had on our agenda for today. Does anybody have anything, any questions or any other topics that you would like to bring up for today?
No, Devin, is it possible to share those documents with the committee? Just so
Sure.
I could.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, in the actual report, by the way, the speed test data will actually be in the report, that graphic and everything. Usually what I do is I summarize the data in the spreadsheet, because there's just so much data and so many columns. But I'm happy to share the full spreadsheet with you if you'd like it. But in the report, it will be summarized. Here are the plans being offered in the town, and here's what the costs are for them.
Yeah, that's efficient. I mean, I think, for myself, I'm getting a lot of great information, and the tools that you guys are using really will give the committee some solid, backing in terms of making a decision. So I think everything is helpful, at least to me.
Excellent. Good.
Good.
Yeah, I'll make it a point to email that out to everybody on this committee.
Oh, yeah, I had one more thing on the survey, where David mentioned, about the town's responsibility not necessarily falling on the town. I mean, when we complete that survey, there's no way to actually state, yeah, we don't necessarily, the town may take that responsibility, but we don't want that financial burden on the town. Is there a way to clarify that maybe?
I think you just need to make the assumption that from the very beginning, this has never been intended to be a financial burden on the town.
Okay,
So there's a difference between the town taking a leadership role and being able to organize a fiber utility, and then the town being financially responsible for that. Those are two separate things. Yeah.
sure. I just don't want, if I'm voting for it, for people to have the assumption that I'm saying, oh yeah, let the town pay for it, or let the taxpayers pay for it.
Yeah, I'm happy to just make that an overriding assumption
Yeah.
when you
Okay.
take that. Yep.
I mean, I love the fact that David and you guys are pursuing grants. I think that's the way to go with this, as much as possible.
I think grants will get you to a certain level. The ultimately here's and when you take a little bit closer look at the spreadsheet and the costs and all that good stuff, especially when we compare it to the bills that you guys are going to send us. Our premise for all of our clients starting off is that if you get enough people involved in the process, and if you get enough people to subscribe to a network, any network is feasible because you're already paying the money, right? So if we show, and we will show this, the average homeowner that has a wired connection in Westport is likely paying anywhere from $75 to $90 a month. That's going to come out to be probably the average. Okay. Well, we're going to financially model for the town a town fiber infrastructure with multiple service offerings and multiple service providers in that kind of that open access model. We're going to model that to a certain take rate, whether that be a 50% take rate or 60% take rate. We usually are kind of right in there because we're super confident we can hit that. And then we're going to look and we're going to say, okay, at that take rate, if you take all the costs, the infrastructure costs, the maintenance and operation costs, and the service costs, and add them all up, how much a month is this going to cost a average homeowner and business operator in the town of Westport? Okay. In every case so far, that number has been well below $75, $55, sometimes $60, right? If we're in a really rural area where we got long distances between properties, maybe $62. But my point is this. So it's not a matter of pulling money out of the market. You're already giving it to Spectrum. You're already sending it to them. The question is convincing enough people that it's better to kind of control these things locally so they have a say in the matter. And frankly, taking what they're already paying, discount it, and then pay it over here instead of over there. Does that make sense? So if we can model that, which is what we will do, without any kind of supplemental funding from state or federal, agencies, then any money we are able to bring in is just icing on the cake. It just lowers everybody's cost. So instead of 62, it goes down to 58. Instead of 55, it goes down to 52, right? So we want to model this assuming we get no federal or state help. But then but we know we're going to qualify for a lot of those funds. So as we get them, it just lowers the price for everybody. That's the strategy we're going to take on the financial pro formas and on the modeling, if everybody's comfortable with that idea. Okay.
Okay, well,
So
yeah,
Keith, Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Go ahead. No, Keith, did you have a comment?
I'll finish up after you.
No, go ahead. I was just going to do a quick wrap up. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, not related, semi-related to this, but Shauna, I was speaking to Open Cape about some other stuff for the town networks, and mentioned about, you know, some of the work that we're doing as well, and they're willing to also come to the meeting at some point and talk about, you know, what Open Cape can provide and everything. So I just wanted to throw that out there to the committee, if that's something we want to do, you know, in the future after we get going with this or whatever.
Thank you.
My
Yeah,
answer to
fiber
that
yet? Is it still in manufacturing?
I was going to say, my answer to that is we absolutely want to talk to them, because I think they're going to be a great option for a middle mile provider, interconnectivity. So definitely we want to have that conversation with them.
Okay.
Yeah, and that actually ties right in with where I was going to go. So Jeff shared a timeline during the June 2nd meeting. And as you know, he's on vacation this week. So we didn't cover a couple of things that were on the timeline today, which was risk analysis, which really it's best if that comes from him. And then I'm working on a presentation regarding grant opportunities and not quite done with that. So Devin, let's connect with Jeff early next week when he's back. We'll revisit the timeline. We will share that back out with you so you'll know where we're headed. And then, of course, if you have any questions or concerns, and we'll just do that via email since we're not meeting for 2 weeks.
Right. So as far as assignments that we're giving out I have an assignment to send both these documents to everybody on the committee.
You
I'll
do.
take care of that. Keith has an assignment to grab as many shape files as he can get his hands on and share those with us.
I'll check with planning on that. They should have some of those. Yeah.
Excellent. What else was there? Was there anything else we missed?
We're gonna fill out the survey.
Everybody to complete the survey and then
Good.
scan and email their bills, the complete bill. You can redact your personal information if you'd like to, and you can send those to either Devin or I, and we'll make sure they get to the right place.
Yeah, and I have to reach out to Comtrack and see if I can provide their information, you know, to the BRE infrastructure there.
Yeah, so Brian is very familiar with BRE, their process and what they would need. So he shouldn't have any problems. But if he has any questions, have him contact us.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. I think that's it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Nice to see all of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have to officially have a motion to adjourn. So
Oh, yeah, sorry. Don't forget, this is an actual official meeting, isn't it?
I'll make a
Second.
motion to adjourn.
all right, Renee.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Shanna.
Thank you.